This episode is sponsored by Wacom, Wacom.com. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Face the Truth, the #1 podcast in the world, as you all know. I'm really excited to have these two young, handsome fellas on the show today. I'm pretty sure one of them was an extra in Stranger Things, and the other one, I think, is Dan Albrook's brother that works at Walmart, I think, something like that. You guess which one I'm talking about. But anyways, yeah, these guys, they've gone through it all. They're failed strippers. There was a time in their life where both of them tried the whole game, and it turns out that swinging on poles just wasn't for them. They weren't doing so well at a lot of different things. Lots of ups and downs. And then one day they found a camera, and they decided that's not good right now. Either we have to work on other things. And then they realized, you know what? Let's try doing caricature. Let's try doing that. And then basically they just failed for years at caricature. They got kicked out of every park. They couldn't keep a job because they were using the wrong side of the pencil. And then eventually someone said, hey guys, flip that pencil around. And they were like, oh my gosh, I can draw. And so then they became amazing caricature artists known throughout the universe. And then went back to the camera is what I've been told. And they've been working on this awesome documentary called American Caricature. And I can't wait to see it. I've seen little clips. It looks amazing. Can't wait to talk to these awesome dudes about this. And so please welcome my guests, Tom Fachukinaki and Joe Chimichanga. Welcome to the podcast, guys.
Hey, Jason.
I know I fucked those names up.
You were close. You were close.
That was close.
I've heard worse.
Yeah. I'm glad I'm a Deadpool snack.
Yeah. So how you guys been?
Good. Busy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Things are going well.
That's awesome. Hey, this is the first time I've had two people on at the same time.
Yeah, how's that working? Yeah.
Nice.
Good, I like it.
We're going to have to figure out the positioning a little bit and get used to it.
I heard it was not gay in a three-way. I think that's no. I don't know if that's not true if there's three guys, but
as long as instruments aren't touching each other, I don't know how that works, but
whatever. As long as everyone has fun, as long as it's a good time.
Yeah, as long as it's fun. Man, that would smell terrible. So yeah, this is awesome, guys. You guys, how long ago was that now that you guys came by? You started working on this at least 3-4 years ago, right? Or is it the project?
Yeah, the funny thing is I was just talking to Tom before we started the Skype that because of social media, Facebook, they have your memories thing that pops up. In this day, 4 years ago, we were actually, as of Monday, 4 years ago, in Chicago interviewing you for the film. And now here we are 4 years later. The roles have reversed. Now you're interviewing us about the movie for your podcast. So it's kind of like serendipitous.
That is very strange.
Yeah,
that's interesting. Yeah, that's really cool. But I definitely want to get into it. We want to talk about this. I'm really excited. But let's talk a little, because I know it was really difficult for you guys back when you had to do stripping and all that kind of stuff. But
those are the dark days.
Yeah, the dark days. What I'm curious about with both of you is, like, how did you guys get into the whole caricature world? Like, how young were you when you started doing that? And then just, what got you to, because you guys both started doing like live caricature, right?
Well, Joe, so
well, you tell them when you started. We'll break the bubble.
Yeah. So
pop it.
Mine's a kind of a crazy story. Like, I've always followed caricature and loved it. Like, I'm a child of Mad Magazine, of
right,
specifically the 90s, but like I found all my dad's old stash and like the from the 60s, 70s, 80s, and I really like sunk my teeth into that. I grew up with Cedar Point in my backyard, and so I would go every year, watch the caricature artists, and fall in love with it. And my dad bought me a caricature when I was 14 in 2000.
Is that the one we got together or no?
No, because we did one together the next year.
Okay.
Once the bug really got into me, but
Gotcha.
My first one, I was just blown away. I'm like, how could someone do this? How can someone make something that looks like me? And I've been kind of like interested ever since. I was so fascinated by it, and I like knew from that, like, I want to do this. I want to do this at least, one summer. I want to get out there and draw people. I want to figure out crack this code. And when I was in college, I went to, Joe took me to for my birthday to see Tenacious D in Detroit. And I met a woman there who worked at Cedar Point, and she's like, hey, can you take pictures for me? I'll give you Cedar Point passes. She saw me with my camera out. So I'm like, yeah, we can do that. And then we got to talking, and she's like, yeah, I work for the art company there. I'm like, oh, can you give me a job there? And she's like, yeah. And so, took a couple years to finish up school and all that, but like once it finally started, I was like, hey, I'm here for that job now. And she's like, awesome. And so in 2009 I started doing caricatures at Cedar Point, and I've been doing that for 10 years now, almost with no stops. There's like 1 year gap in the middle there at the very beginning, actually. And I've been doing that full time now, drawing at festivals and stuff. Now Joe's always been a bystander. He's been a faithful observer. He's never he's the film guy.
Okay, I didn't know if I wasn't sure.
So the funny thing is, like, when we were little, we would all draw in Tom's basement, his brother, the two of us, some of our other friends, and we draw like just action figure concepts, kind of like rip off of Spawn type deals. We're big Spawn fans.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I haven't really drawn much since. And then Tom went to his first ISCA convention in Vegas. 2010 in Vegas. And I said, well, I can't let my best friend go to Vegas by himself. So that was kind of my introduction.
You guys are going to fall back into stripping again. And
exactly.
It's
the
like
stripping convention
full
the next
circle.
week, so we just kind of made it a whole trip.
Yeah. So that's kind of so the funny thing is, because of that, and just I love the community and just the personalities there, and been around just because of the film. People think I'm a caricature artist by default because it's like, oh, Tom, all these other guys. I'm like, sure, that I'll just take the credit, I guess.
And he's picked up a few things too in his travels and coming to conventions and hanging with those weirdos. Like he can draw people.
I assume so. Hey, you know what? This is just a weird thing I just realized. Hopefully this is not going to be a problem. But because there's two of you, and I'm just thinking about like what the Skype does. Mm-hmm. Don't worry, I can edit this part out. But what the Skype does is it like automatically splits the screen. So now I'm wondering if like you guys are like gonna like the middle is gonna be on the screen between you. So I don't know. I don't know what we can do about that, but if that happens, it happens. So
yeah.
I guess the alternative is maybe we can get on a conference call and I could do this on my iPad and Joe can do this on my computer or something like that. We can do separate rooms.
I don't know. I don't know if that'll. I don't know. We'll just keep going.
Worst case scenario is just an audio only. Worst case scenario.
We'll figure it out. Every once in a while, just put your heads in and say, hey,
hey,
we're all here.
We're here.
So, anyways, that's cool. I assumed that you did caricature as well because with a face like that, you got to either do comedy or caricature.
That's why I'm behind the camera.
Or radio. No, I'm just kidding. No, that's awesome. So you both of you obviously had like a passion for the caricature world and everything.
Yeah.
That's interesting too. Like I kind of had a similar thing, Tom, where I kind of just started drawing caricature. I didn't know what it was. I just started drawing. My dad was a youth pastor, and I would just kind of make fun of all the other kids at youth group. And I didn't really know what it was called. I didn't know it was caricature or anything. And eventually my dad got me this book and I was like, oh man, I thought I invented this thing. And then I realized that, oh no, this is like quite an art form in itself. And then I started, of course I started collecting Mad Magazine, and really getting into that. And then eventually, I think, when I was like 11, I went to the Mall of America where Tom Richmond had a booth. And he was doing live, he had his own company there. And my parents would just drop me off and go shopping. And I would just stay there for hours, just watching, just like same thing. Like, man, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. Like just watching him and like trying to figure out before he did something, what he was going to do, and like what I would do, and it was like a really cool thing.
It is like it's like magic if you're uninitiated. If you're watching it, you're really fascinated in it. I mean, it can really suck you in.
Yeah. No, it's really cool. I mean, even still to this day, like, I just did a caricature of Bobby Lee, just like a sketch, and sometimes you see it in your head, before you start, you see some kind of a shape or whatever. Sometimes you see the whole thing. Sometimes you just instantly just start drawing and it starts to come to life. And there's a lot of times when I'm drawing where I'm just like, whoa, this is so cool. You know what I mean? Like, whoa, what am I doing? This is fun. Like, it just starts happening. It starts, maybe it starts going in a different direction than I was even wanting or thinking, but it's a better direction, and sometimes it turns out completely different than what you thought in the first place. Now, when you're doing like the live stuff, because you're strictly mostly live, right, Tom?
Yeah. I mean, I like doing illustration, but I don't really give myself the time for it, and I don't advertise it because I'm on the road so much. But I make my living doing festivals, fairs, that sort of stuff with Rob Wren.
Oh, okay, cool. Oh, he's awesome. Shout out to Rob.
Yo, Rob.
Yo. So when you're doing the live stuff, are you like? Do you find yourself doing different things to change it up a little, since you've been doing it so much, like hey, I'm just going to start with a chin this time just for the hell of it, or you know what I mean, like just trying to push yourself or do something different, or do you have a formula kind of a way that you attack?
I will start my formula usually starts with like a real quick pre-sketch, which I know some people are against, but like I like to put down a quick, like almost invisible bit of like a placemat there for me to know where the pieces are going. Then I do eyes, nose, mouth, and then outside of the face. That's basically it. But like as far as like approaching it differently, that's kind of like my standard approach. But if I really want to go wild with something, or if I'm just stuck, sometimes I don't do this so much now, but I used to just like be like, okay, I can kind of see that nose like really sticking out, so I'm just gonna just drag this line across the page, and then I'm like, now I got to work with that, and I'll make it work, and that was my challenge. Like I just really put myself in a corner and have to draw my way out of it was always my solution to that. Nowadays, I'm also like, I'm looking at other artists and trying to sort of see where they got their styles, where they got their answers by looking at reference. And sometimes I'll like copy a sketch directly, and then I'll try and draw that reference in my style and see how I do it differently. And so I'm just trying to pull from different sources. But most of my ways of like changing things up live just comes from just diving into other reference materials and just looking at other artists and looking at other approaches to it can change up and refresh my sort of vision of people. Because sometimes, I mean, doing this for 10 years, it is easy to get stale and fall into a rhythm where I'm just like, oh, I'm in a rut. Like none of my faces look good, or they all look the same. And I'm just like really trying to push myself. The biggest thing that I do is like really try to, I would say just contrast face shapes. And that definitely keeps it interesting. So I definitely want to do like a mix of long faces and round faces and wide faces and cone-shaped faces and all that stuff. Instead of just the two faces on the page, I want to be able to stretch and pull and do that. And that leads to enough variety to keep me satisfied. But that's going back to how I get out of that is usually just looking at other reference and trying to challenge myself to draw in a different style.
Yeah. Do you because I mean that's got to be, I mean you're sitting, how quickly do you normally do them?
I can do them in about 3 to 8 minutes. I like taking my time though, so usually they take me closer to 5, 10, 15 depending on the complexity of the subject. And the events that we do usually allow for that. They're not always super populated. Some of the busier ones you got to draw faster, but as fast as 3 minutes on just a black and white face, get those colored in 5 to 7 minutes. But if I really wanted to, I could spend 15 minutes on a color face, and I feel like that's kind of that sweet spot where it doesn't get overworked, and I get to put as much as I want into it, and they walk away happy, and I walk away satisfied.
Yeah, I mean it's I always find it interesting just because it's completely different than what I'm used to. I mean I did it. I dipped my toes into that real brief. In fact, like I worked at Navy Pier in Chicago for one summer, 1 day a week. I did live caricature. And so it's not really enough to get it because like some days nobody would want to get drawn. So I'm literally sitting there all day, like with nothing to do.
I know that feeling.
Yeah. And then, and then I was definitely not, I was not into the whole, like try to do like caricatures, like things, like I was kind of going in a more violent direction. And it just wasn't a fit for me because it's like you can't. It's hard. Like I found it different than illustration. Whereas illustration, I feel like, I've got a purpose. It's an assignment or whatever that I'm working on, and sometimes I have more freedom to exaggerate more. Sometimes I have to pull back. But like when you're someone sitting there right in front of you, you just like it's so tempting to just rip them and and so I was doing that, and my boss wasn't being he wasn't happy, let's just put it that way. he was like, oh come on, that's a little bit too much. And but then he started doing it too. So I mean, do you find that like when you're sitting with another artist and you see them like pushing the boundaries that you start like, oh, the next one I'm gonna try to take it to the next level, like that back and forth?
Yeah, you know what? That definitely was part of my learning experience. I worked with a good crew of artists in Busch Gardens in Tampa my second or third year doing caricatures. And, they all really loved just like going both barrels on their customers. And like I was still used to the cutesy kind of like traditional theme park sketch. And so when I got down there and I was working with them, I'm like, oh, I need to prove these guys that I can hang. I gotta, I gotta step it up. And so I did all my wildest exaggeration, consequences be damned, while I was down there. Carry that over a little bit to my next year at Cedar Point, and then eventually I leveled out. But like learning that and learning how to use that exaggeration and those tools were instrumental in me developing my style as it sits now. So yeah, I don't really like it. It's not in my instinct anymore to really go hard on people and like mess them up or anything, because I want to do I want to get a good likeness. I want to get a good structural likeness and, fun exaggeration. I look to artists like Tom Richmond and Brian Oakes for that. And, again, another shout out to Rob Bren, because we've been working together for so long. We play off of each other's style so much that you can almost like, if customers came up, you couldn't really tell the difference between the artists. Sometimes when there's a big crew, there's like so much disparity between the levels of expertise or exaggeration or style that, there is this like weird distinction of like, oh, that guy draws super cute, or that guy draws super exaggerated, or he's mean,
That's the mean one.
Yeah, we don't have that conflict at our booth, but I totally
sounds like you guys are professionals.
Yeah, well, we try to be. Yeah.
Yeah.
To what you were saying about illustration, though, like I get that, and I feel like I feel like I'm way more comfortable with like an assignment, like you were saying, but working in live retail, you don't have that luxury. So for me, again, I just try to get things done in my style in a way that I know works and makes the customer happy. And every once in a while, I do just sort of say like, okay, we're gonna try something new here. We're gonna have some fun with this one, and then just see where it goes. So
let's talk about what you guys are working on. You've been working on the documentary American Caricature. So when did this start? This idea start? Because it seems like you've been working on it for quite a while now. I know that you've interviewed tons of artists. I'm excited to see what you guys do with it and where you take it. But what was like the birthplace of this whole idea?
Well, so I went to Euclid High in Northeast Ohio and Cleveland State University. I kind of fell in love with film in high school, and when Tom started working with Rob Wren, they travel all over America. They go to Texas and Shreveport, Louisiana, and parts of Ohio. And his first couple of years, he's like, "Oh man, I ate this, and I went to this place, and all this." I'm like, "Man, I want to do that with you." I love traveling too, and I love eating crazy food. And I would jokingly say, I'm going to follow you one year, and because I don't draw, I'm just going to bring a camera and just shove it in your face. Ha ha ha. Well, one year, for one of the ISCA conventions, as you know, it goes West Coast, East Coast, back and forth. So one year they were in Reno, And they did the announcement of the next year, which was going to be in Sandusky. And Tom texts me, he goes, hey, it's in our backyard next year. Do you want to come film the convention? I said, cool, why not? Well, so separately, in his return trip home, and me just mulling it over while I'm working in the restaurant or whatever, we both kind of had the same idea, and we just kind of said, F it, let's just end the year there, and I'll just travel with you on and off for a year, and actually let's do this. Let's make it happen. And we had like about 2 months of like actual pre-planning after the holidays, and then we just kind of hit the road.
Yeah, it's kind of funny the way it worked out. Like there was some rumors that it was going to take place in Sandusky the next year, so I kind of had the idea in my head, but I didn't actually call Joe until like the minute they announced it,
right,
like officially. But Joe was looking for a project. He had this film degree and had worked on music videos and short films and stuff like that. But he wanted something more substantial, and I'm like, well, come film our convention. And then again, it came at the same time where he's like, I want to do what you do. I want to travel and see these different places.
Right. So
I'm like, well, we can do the convention, but let's build up to that convention. I got some friends in most of these places that I work with, so, and then I knew like this Commons Managers Conference was coming to town in a month. This is in November of 2014, by the way. So we just started talking about this right at the end of the November convention.
Yeah.
And then we're like, okay, well, I know some, Golden Nosy winners who are coming to this Managers Conference. Let's see if we can interview them and get a basis for that.
Which the conference happened to be in Mentor, Ohio.
Just it was a 15-minute drive from my house. I'm like, let's go see all these like Brian Oakes, Dave Smith, Dino Casterline, Matt Sitman. All these guys were there, and so we arranged some interviews right off the bat there. And we really just played this, as sporadically as we could. Like we didn't really get the opportunity to have much of a plan.
Right.
And I don't even remember how it came into play that we went to Florida. Like we went to Florida in January of that year because we're just like.
So we interviewed these guys for the manager conference in like November, again, like in between holidays, and Tom just got back from being on the road. So after all that, we're trying to pre-plan, and I kind of notoriously say the movie, part of it, the length of it being taken to get done, is we kind of did a movie backwards. It's like we didn't have a lot of time to do a lot of pre-production because of Tom's job where he leaves in March, and I don't see him again until November. So that's one of the reasons why the movie takes so long, is because we're barely in the same state.
This was also, so this is my way, like right around that time, I found myself in a position of, I was able to financially support myself doing caricatures pretty much part-time. And so I had the winter off. So I'm like, well, we'll just film the convention and I'll have this winter to make a movie. And, 5 winters later, we're still wrapping it up. So poor Joe, has a full-time job. I am kind of bouncing around back and forth between home and work. So we did really kind of just make it up on the fly because we didn't have a plan that went beyond like the first couple months. So anyway, sorry, I interrupted you. So
you're fine.
Going on.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, it's not for lack of trying. The plan just physically we didn't get. We'd have to text each other or over email. So the movie came together as we were filming it. But the whole going to Florida thing is Tom went to go to Florida to work with, I think, Tim Reed maybe, or I don't know. And
I was that year. That's right. Yeah.
He's like, well, I'm going to go. If you can go. I'm like, I don't know if work will let me go. And it was actually, I think, February, and it was bitter cold up here in Cleveland. I said, I'm sick of this shit. I want to go get some sunshine. So Tom, I'm coming. We're going to interview Corey Lally and Jared Stokes and Glenn Ferguson, whoever else is down in Florida for the short time I'm down there. And then we just snowballed from there.
So if I can talk about that for a second too. So I was like, okay, let's just go to Florida and grab some interviews, see what happens.
No big deal.
And
they were Florida with a camera.
They were friends that I knew from working in Busch Gardens, Tampa. So at this point, the movie was still going to be the ISCA convention, some of my work travels, and then some of my, close friends who do it for a living.
Yeah.
And then we're like, you know what? Glenn Ferguson lives in Florida.
Yeah.
So I just hit him up, and he's just like, yeah, I love it. Let's do it. And he just gave us a killer interview, and I'm like, okay, so now this movie is like taking itself up a step, now we got, I'm like, we got Glenn Ferguson interested in this thing, and that was awesome. That was a great experience. And it was because of him, sort of being so welcoming and accommodating, when we interviewed him.
That we decided to reach out to more art, like bigger artists.
Right. I mean, that was basically the catalyst for us to be like, okay, we need to go to different places, and then we need to talk to Tom Richmond and Jason Seiler and see if they'll let us interview. Yeah. So we were just really trying to get some artists outside of our circle of friends, basically. Yeah. And so obviously you were one of them, and it's definitely been a huge benefit to the movie to have that sort of insight in it. In addition to the friends of mine who I'm close with who do this on like the circuit level, versus now we have some illustrators and cartoonists and just people who I didn't think I even had the right to touch 5 years ago. So and again, now here you are having us on your podcast, and it's been an awesome experience, just like the way things have kind of blossomed from there.
Well, I mean, it makes sense because you're calling it American caricature, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's so much more to caricature than live caricature at parks and different things like that. So I think it's really fitting and perfect, to get as many different artists, big or small variety, because they're really what's interesting. I don't really know the exact direction that you guys are taking this. So if you guys want to talk about that a little bit, that'd be cool. But
yeah, we can go into that.
But I just think it's a really cool idea in general, because caricature is one of those things that's really, sometimes it can be really misunderstood.
Right.
And I think
this is what we're trying to alleviate. Actually, that's kind of like the whole point.
Yeah.
But go on.
No, yeah. So it's like especially in this day and age, there's a lot of great things going on with the whole Me Too thing and everything. A lot of annoying things that go along with it, but overall, it's great, for people to just like wake up and pay attention to how other people are feeling and try to be sensitive about it. But at the same time, when it comes to caricature and stuff like that, stay the fuck out of my face. You know what I'm saying? People do not understand what it's about, and what it's a true art form that can be powerful, and it can be used politically and all kinds of different things. And it should be used. It should be used all the time right now. It should be an art form that just like opens minds, makes people laugh, makes people chill out a bit. It's kind of like stand-up comedy in a way. Like when things are too serious and dark, when things are totally fucked up, a good laugh is what you need. And just like stand-up comedy, caricature can go down some dark roads, and you should let it do that. You know what I mean? That should be a part of it. But it can also be a really positive thing, And so I think it's really important that you guys are covering a wide spectrum of everything. And I was gonna when you guys were talking just a minute ago about talking with Glenn, I was just wondering, obviously. Tragedy has hit him and his family like really in the worst way possible. Have you guys been able to talk to him since then and have that sort of a part of the film, or is this something that's kind of off basis, or off limits?
So well, we filmed before the attack happened.
Yeah.
So we have scissors in the head Glenn Ferguson, so to speak.
Yeah.
And then do we want to talk about it?
I'll go into it. So, so we finished our
principal photography
was ISCA 2015 November, and Glenn was attacked at work on January 1st, 2016. And
so 2 months later,
that was obviously terrible for Glenn, terrible for Joanne, and terrible for everyone who loves him and cares about him and the community as a whole. But I know that haunted me for just going out into the season and just knowing that it happened, and that was sort of my personal takeaway from that, and then
and the crazy thing too about that, like, so I'm working on this film obviously, and personal friends of ours that live up north with us here in Cleveland. My roommate Patrick was now invested emotionally. He's like, "Oh, I heard about your friend with the scissors. Like, how's he doing?" And he would ask me periodically, like, he's doing good. And he wasn't even asking me, "Is it going to be in the movie?" He just wanted to know, like, is something horrible happened to this person? And so it's kind of like reached out to more than just the character community, because I had friends who knew about it because of the movie, or just because I was talking about it, and they were asking me like, is he personally okay? It's kind of like a crazy thing. They've never even seen a clip of the film yet or anything like that, and it's just this bigger thing because it was a horrible attack.
So so people who didn't even know Glenn were reaching out to us and asking what was going on with that, because it was a big thing. And thankfully he recovered, and it took a few months before we really knew anything at all. I mean, we still at that point didn't know to what degree he was going to recover. But without getting too much into Glenn's personal situation, I will say probably around summer of that year, it just started, like, I was driving home from an event and I just kind of turned off on a rest stop, and I wrote this big long email to Joe saying, I'm like, dude, I never just stop in the middle of driving and do this, but we need to address this situation because this is a big thing that happened in our community at the time that we're covering it.
Or just right after.
Yeah. And so, and then I'm like, we also have 2.5 hours of interview footage of Glenn prior to, his attack and the brain damage that came from it.
Right.
I do want to say now Glenn is doing way better than he was, 6 months following his attack. So there has been significant recovery, and we're all happy for that. But at the time, we still weren't sure where anything was going. There was a lot of legal issues still hovering over him. There was a criminal trial. They weren't sure what was going to happen to the guy who attacked him. And basically, yes, there has been follow-up. It took a little bit of time to get all the pieces in place, but we have spoken to Glenn since on an official sort of capacity. We've interviewed him a couple times. We have a plan for that footage. We're not including that story in the documentary because it's a little too harrowing to kind of say, look at all these goofy caricature guys.
Yeah, and then try to that's what I was curious about, because
in my opinion, so when we first started talking about it, Tom kind of convinced me to include it in the film, and I think part of the reason why it's not now is because post-production has taken a little while, so it's a little less relevant than when it just happened. Well, the other thing too is I think it does two things to the film American Caricature. It kind of takes this not serious kind of niche thing about the world of caricature, and then he put a very tragic thing into it, and it's like, whoa, it turned somewhere I didn't think it was going to go. Yeah, and also kind of takes away from Glenn's story too. It kind of makes it hey.
It's a subplot.
Yeah, we're hey, we're trying to get people's attention by putting something tragic in here, but that's not what we want with the film.
We have a lot of great footage. Like I said, we shot a really good interview with Glenn that first round of shooting when we were in Orlando in 2015, and a lot of that made it into the film. So we want people, people who know him are going to see this and be like, they're going to, have, fond memories of Glenn prior to his attack, but also, we want people who don't even know him to sort of see him and fall in love with him and kind of relate to him, so that when we do put out whatever it is going to be that we've been shooting this extra footage for, we're just not really ready to announce anything in any full capacity. But we have the full blessing of Glenn and Joanne to tell their story, basically. So we're going to try and do that with as much, thought and care into it as we can, and give it its own proper sort of staging.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And to feed off what Tom was saying too, not putting anything about the attack in the film. It's people who don't know Glenn or know that even happened to him can fall in love with him and his interview for what it is, and not almost have pity for him. Again, take that away from Glenn, the artist, and not oh my God, he's no longer Glenn the artist. He's Glenn, the victim of an attack. And, that'll be a separate story for a separate time.
It's also, this movie, good. You're asking a little bit about the direction of the movie itself. And another reason that's not going to factor in so much is because really we wanted it to be almost like a time capsule. We wanted it to start at the beginning of 2015 and end at the end of 2015. And this thing just happened to happen immediately after. So yeah, we had many long conversations and debates before we finally reached out to Glenn and Joanne and kind of started working with them again. But we now have a better idea of definitely what the movie's going to be, and then how we're going to handle that later on down the road.
That's awesome.
Your eyes extra open for something in the future.
Yeah. Well, once we start putting that together, we'll announce more about it. But it's on the list, definitely.
Oh, that's awesome. And are you guys when are you guys planning on having it released by?
So our goal
this year, or I swear to God.
Yeah, right.
I swear to
God. So, all right. Full disclosure, I just want to put out there, I am the vice president, one of two vice presidents, co-vice president for the International Society of Caricature Artists. I got elected to that board the year we filmed the convention in 2015. So I'm going into this convention as a board member, and we're hoping to bring the movie with us. Now, as far as ISCA goes, we haven't announced this, and I hope I'm not shooting myself in the foot by promising too much right now. But Chris Moore, the president, already said it's on the docket, and I promised it, and I can't take it back. So we do have every intention of utilizing the space. The guest house at Graceland is our venue for the convention, and our seminar room is actually a 400-seat movie theater on the premises. So there's a stage up there, and there's a screen that comes down and a projector and all that. So our plan is to have our first private screening at the convention for ISCA members. So we want that out this year, and then the next step is film festivals. My big one's the Cleveland International Film Festival. That's what we're aiming for. That's our target for submission dates.
And we want to try to do any ones that will take us. Obviously, the sky's the limit. But I mean, obviously hit the big ones and just hope for the best. Hit the little ones, local ones. There's one in Chagrin Falls, which is about 30 minutes south of Cleveland. They do just specifically a local documentary film festival, so that's perfect. And I currently work down in Chagrin Falls. But also the idea is anywhere we shot. In Texas for the, South Texas State Fair, or in Shreveport where we interviewed Joe Bloom, or in Chicago where we interviewed you, just Columbus, Ohio, anywhere we kind of made a little home for in the film. Hopefully we could reach out hey, we shot part of this film here. Maybe it gives us a little edge, maybe it doesn't. But the more the better.
We're hoping for 2020 festival circuit. So that's on the list, but getting it done by the end of this summer is our priority right now, and then having everything, all the post finished for by November is our hard deadline right now.
Yeah, after 4 years, we want to put a little extra effort into the bells and whistles.
Yeah,
we wanted to go beyond our capabilities of color correction and sound correction, especially for the festivals. We want it to look and sound the best possible way that it can, because after all this hard work, why not? Let's get it as far as we can go, and the best way to do that is have professional people working on it that do things that Tom and I don't really do on the normal.
Yeah. So we're gonna we were going over our Kickstarter campaign before you called us, so we're actually working on that. We want to get that out there, and we want to start that in July and have that run through that month, and then basically to cover the costs of color and sound correction and festival submissions, and whatever else, whatever that campaign can bring in, we're gonna put it all back into the movie. Whether it's through artwork or packaging or just whatever we can do that's going to enhance the experience and make this movie more visible and accessible to more people, that's where we're going to be putting that money. So we'll be announcing that. We were hoping to announce it on your podcast formally, but it's not up yet. We kind of had to retool a little bit, and we're getting it out there though. We got our everything in order just about. So
save your allowance money, kids. Kickstarter coming soon.
That's awesome though.
Yeah,
that's cool that you guys are getting some pros to help out with all the bells and whistles and stuff. That's awesome. Yeah. Especially, I mean, you don't want to spend that much time on it and then not be happy with it,
Right, exactly.
Sorry.
I was just gonna say we got as far as cutting together the story and the editing, but when it comes to what sounds good and what looks good on a theater screen, on a Blu-ray, on a TV screen, on a stereo system, a surround sound, we can't account for any of that on our own. So we're
or at least not to that degree.
We can wing it, which is I've always said if we don't make enough on a Kickstarter campaign, we'll put out the version that you guys end up getting, but we want it to be as good as it can be. So that's where this comes in. So
not saying we're not proud of what it is now. It's just, again, the biggest thing is to get it to be sounded mixed accordingly. So if you watch it on your Apple computer or your phone, or hopefully a movie theater screen, which is the big one, it sounds appropriate. I mean, color correction would be nice too, but the funny thing about with film is it's such a visual medium, but sound is probably more important than anything. People don't realize that. And if anything's off, people are going to not be enticed to really care about the film anymore. Like if, you're watching like an old Kung Fu movie and, the English subtitles and the mouth moves and you know what I'm saying? It's like then you kind of get taken out of the film experience. It's like, this doesn't look good. They messed this up. And then you don't even care what it looks like anymore.
Yeah. No, it makes total sense. When you guys were filming this and it's been like all over the country in different places, has there ever been anything strange or odd that you like unexpected? Let's just say that while you're filming, like what, like this is I didn't like what's going on here or anything. I'm just curious if you guys have any behind the scenes stories that would be kind of fun to talk about.
Oh, probably. I think there was some stuff with that Ace of Spades card that you had going on early on. He considers it his lucky card, this Ace of Spades card, because it's something. That's how we named the production company Lucky Card.
It was our first interview.
It kept showing up in the right places or something. But that was so long ago. I don't remember. I do remember, like, every once in a while we'd like look at each other and nod because someone in an interview would like kind of like reflect something.
Yeah, that was
reinforce.
That was more like coincidental.
Yeah.
I mean, the teaser's been out since before Memorial Day, and Jason, you happen to be one of the two talking points in there. So we interviewed Joe Bloom, in end of March or April of that year, and came to you a little later, and you both happened to mention like just this punk rock attitude of caricature artist, and that set with me. I remember interviewing you and looking at Tom, and just kind of had the moment like, yeah, these guys said the same thing. That's pretty cool, and I knew I was going to do something with that because not only is like that sentiment about caricature art perfect, but it's, to me, punk rock also is kind of like a DIY thing, which is what this film is. So we also kind of have that punk rock mentality as far as this film goes, the production of it. It's, how much money is in my wallet right now? This is what we're going to get out of it. Let's jump in a car with a borrowed camera. Let's just do it. And there's just kind of this like more like, again, these coincidental things. Like these guys keep saying the same thing. And obviously we're not scripting, and we have the questions, to ask everyone, but we're not telling you what to say. And it was just kind of weird that, yeah, it's punk rock. Yeah, we do this. Yeah, blah, blah, blah.
You know what else was weird? I remember this, too. It was actually when we interviewed you and Tom Richmond. So we drove from Ohio to Minneapolis, from Cleveland to Minneapolis. We interviewed Tom Richmond, then we came to Chicago and interviewed you the next day. We did this all within like a 48-hour span. We got to Minneapolis and found out all the hotels were sold out. We had no idea what was going on. I don't even remember what it was. It was some I don't know,
I don't
think it was a sporting event. It was like some car thing or something. I don't know. Anyway, it was something that we had not anticipated for, and all the hotels were sold out. So we had to spend all night just trying to find a place within, a drivable distance of Tom Richmond's place. And then we did that interview, and we came to Chicago, where your hockey team was in the
Blackhawks.
Yeah, the Blackhawks was at the
Town doesn't sports.
I don't sports. No, I knew it was Blackhawks. I just knew if I said it, I'd get it wrong.
If
I said Blackhawks,
it was the Stanley Cup.
It was the Stanley Cup. Yeah, yeah. The World Series of hockey. Anyway, and so it was actually like, yeah, that was going on when we got to Chicago, and it was like another situation where like, damn it, everywhere we've gone, there's been like no hotel, and we didn't do this on a weekend. No. Like we were out there on like a Tuesday and Wednesday, and we just both of those trips we couldn't find any places to stay without like really having to pull some teeth, but. I guess we managed. I don't even remember where we stayed.
I don't remember where we stayed either. I think in Chicago we stayed at a not so nice motel, like one of those like Norman Bates one level motel. And I remember you like text your mom like, yeah, we're safe, but we're leaving like at the ass crack of dawn because it's scary out here.
The weird stuff came after. Like I was starting to think this movie was cursed because, like, I mean, first thing, there was a thing that happened with Glenn Ferguson. And I'm like, oh man, that sucks. And then that wasn't enough for me to be like, that's, I'm not going to put that on him. But then there was a hurricane that hit the site of our Texas festival, and then there was a ride collapse that killed someone at the Ohio State Fair. Both of these two state fairs are featured in our film. I'm like, okay,
it's like the poltergeist thing.
like
all those little bad things that kept happening.
Like by the time this movie comes out, there's going to be just like misery surrounding it, everything that we're showing, and I hope that's not the case. But
well, I don't know if this happened. I think this happened before. I don't know if this was before or after you guys were there. Probably.
Are you guys talk about the shootings?
Yeah, I was Yeah, I was gonna say like
the first thing you said to us. I've never met you before.
Yeah.
I don't know if Tom met you in person or not, but he had contacted you, and he knows you from the caricature world. We're walking up the street to come to your apartment, and you're like, not even in handshake distance from us. Like, man, there are a bunch of shootings over here. I was like, oh, it's like, yeah, I was walking my dog. These people just pulled guns out. I'm like, oh my God, what's going on?
Yeah, like
and it's
just
like not a bad part of Chicago either. I didn't think it didn't look like that.
Here's the funny thing about that is that it is the worst street in the entire city.
Oh my God.
So I didn't know that.
There?
No. I moved out because my wife was pregnant, and she was in my one daughter's bedroom, which faced out into the alleyway. 7 a.m, these two dudes shot this other guy in the face 15 times.
Oh my God.
And my wife basically witnessed it. And so we were like, well, that's enough. We he shot him in the face. He has no more face,
No more face.
So no more face. So we have to go.
That'd be an interesting caricature.
Yeah, really interesting. But see, the thing is that when we got that, it looks nice. It's a nice neighborhood, right? It's like a block from the lake.
Yeah, it was.
We hung out at the lake while we were waiting for you.
There's like nice, really nice houses everywhere and everything.
Yeah.
Well, if you look on a Chicago map when you're moving, it'll show like different colors for different neighborhoods for safety. Like there'll be like if it's all green, that means it's really safe. If it's yellow, it's like there's some things. If it's orange, probably not the best. If it's red, it's the worst, right? And if you look on the map in Chicago, the South Side is just like if you look at the whole city, you'll see like this big red section at the bottom, which is the South Side, and then way up north. You see this little red strip. You zoom in, that was the street.
Oh, wow.
And they call it the Jonquil Jungle. And in the summer, we would hear shootings like basically sometimes 5 times a week or more. It just wasn't safe even going outside to take my dog for walks. It was just getting ridiculous. So
that's crazy.
But yeah, the neighborhood I'm in now is only like a mile and a half away, and it's really nice, really safe.
Are you level yellow or are you green?
It's green here.
Good.
But it's weird because it's like only like a mile away, basically a mile and a half.
That is weird.
If the movie is cursed, I'm glad you moved.
Yeah. No, it's very strange. I mean, I am dealing with a weird situation right now where someone has stolen. I've been waiting for checks to come for 5-6 weeks from one client. They were like, "Oh no, it says that you got it and you cashed the check." It's like, no, I definitely didn't get it. Then they looked into it, did some research, and they found out someone got my check, somehow put their name, or not even their name, probably who knows what name this is, on the check, and actually was able to cash it. And so there's like a whole investigation going on with that. And then it gets crazier because I thought, you know what, I'm waiting for a check from my agent as well, and I still haven't gotten that. So I contacted my agent, and they're like, "Oh yeah, turns out someone cashed this as well. Put it complete, and then it was a completely different name than the last one, and different. Like the first one was Southside Chicago, and the second one was someone in Arizona. But clearly, clearly somebody is targeting me. I don't even know how they got them because I don't even think the checks made it to my mailbox. So that means it's someone at the post office that's probably doing it. But then it got even worse because this is still something that's being investigated. But it turns out that basically my agent in New York had to shut down his whole account and start a whole new account because there's so many fraud checks going through where they basically took his checks and tried to make their own.
Wow.
And then it turned out that the Washington Examiner, another client of mine, the same thing was happening to them.
Whoa.
So someone's it's like.
So I was listening to your podcast you did with your dad, and you talked a little bit about that, but this it got grown
worse
since then. Yeah, that's. Wow, I was just hoping it had been resolved quickly, but
yeah, and I'm hoping that they figure it out and somehow I can get paid. No kidding. And then I'm trying to set up just like direct deposit. Because obviously the check thing is not safe, but it's crazy that someone, because it's supposed to be traceable, so it seems like a real stupid thing to do, but somehow this person obviously knows what they're doing, so it's creepy. I don't like it.
They're just like altering it and then using like a digital deposit app to like not have it like formally verified. Like they can just.
Yeah, but here's the thing: if they're not using their own name, like you have to have, to get a bank account, you're in the system. So
yeah.
And the names don't seem right. It's really strange. Like there's something really
that is weird
happening. But anyways, we have come to the part of the podcast that I like to call Serious Questions with Jason Seiler. So, serious question I have for you guys.
All right.
Being that you're working on a film and a documentary, you must know everything about every movie ever made. So my serious question, hold on.
Oh boy.
My serious question for you is, where does this line come from? What movie does this line come from? We are no longer the knights that say me. We are now the knights that say icky, 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 patoi.
That was pretty good. That was good.
You gonna answer a question or not?
You gonna answer while you're playing guitar?
Answer the question or not?
You
gonna answer the question or answer the question or not?
No, we answered.
You're gonna answer the question? I mean, come on.
Where's my buzzer?
I'm gonna have to do more.
Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Which is actually one of our favorite childhood movies. We watch a lot over and over again with Tom's brother Kevin.
I thought the song was part of the movie quote, so I was gonna let you finish.
No, I just felt like singing some country tunes.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's one of my favorite movies as well. And that was Serious Questions with Jason Seiler. So yeah, hey, as you guys know, part of the podcast is I have fans, I ask fans if they want to draw you guys and everything.
Yes.
Because it's part of the fun here. And got some fun ones.
Yeah. I
show you guys. So
I'm excited.
Yeah, let me.
You need to like vote on them or something, or how's this work?
Afterwards, I'll email them to you guys.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And then basically a lucky winner is going to win a 16-inch Cintiq from Wacom, which is pretty damn cool. So
I should have submitted one.
Wow.
So anyways, let's take a look. I'm gonna share a screen with you guys, and just let me know if you see this.
I do.
Yes.
Look at that.
So this is awesome. So this first one is by Magnan Stefan.
It's nice. Yeah, dude. That's. He even got my whole shirt in there, and that's not even in the reference photo.
You must know the shirt.
That's awesome.
And that's my last name. It's Joe Chimichanga.
Yeah, there you go. Joe Chimichanga. No, that's hilarious. I like that.
And tacos. It's pretty funny. Yeah, I love. It's always fun. I start getting these emails like popping up, and I don't know what to expect. So.
Right.
Dude, look at your muscles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looks like your arm swallowed a couple baseballs.
I like that.
So this one is by Adita Bahasser.
I feel like our heads are about to wrap around.
Yeah. That looks like reminds me of Beetlejuice or something.
Yeah.
And they're gonna intertwine and we'll be like a one-headed monster. I like that.
That's funny.
Although it looks kind of similar to the last one too, in a good way.
Oh my God! What is
this?
This is awesome.
This is by Chris Herod.
Holy shit!
Wow, someone knows that I'm a Back to the Future nerd.
And I'm a Browns fan. That's clearly what that is.
Someone did their research.
I had to explain it to Tom. It's Brownie the Elf.
Yeah, I see that. I was looking at me. I don't care about you.
No.
So
no, that is an amazing piece. That is cracking me up right now.
And
so it's just this is Chris Herod did this.
Oh, the name's right there, Joe. There you go. I was distracted by the art.
So man, I don't remember you being that short though, Joe.
It depends on what pictures I take with Tom. Sometimes, and his brother will attest to this, sometimes Tom is like 10 feet tall in pictures. We don't know why.
I deliberately didn't submit the one that I was alarmingly taller than you in, but here he goes. He just knows us.
That's fine. I don't care.
That's awesome.
By the way, Michael J. Fox isn't that tall either. He's a little short guy.
Oh,
that's a good one too. Damn.
This one's by Arjama Bandy Hope. Listen. I'm sorry. What? This is ridiculous. How many times I have to say someone's name wrong? But sorry, listen to this. The last name is Bandiopadhyay. Huh?
You know,
I cannot say it. Can you guys see it? See that?
I see the first name.
Arjama.
I see Arjama.
I see Arjama.
I just feel so bad that I say everyone's names wrong.
It's always weird when
everyone
you
can
have
be named
to.
Seiler.
You have to say. Yeah, people still call you Seiler. Anyway.
Oh yeah. People say my name wrong all the time.
But the first time you say something out loud, you've only seen written. It's always a weird experience. So,
right.
Yeah. But no, it is. I love the rendering on this, the hatching and all that. And I mean, I will say, like, they nailed my smile on that one.
They gotcha. They gotcha.
They nailed your nose.
It's funny.
Yeah, it's pretty good. These are all.
And this one is by Randy G.
Randy, yeah. So Randy, he's a follower of mine on Instagram. I met him at the Kentucky State Fair where I was working, and he just sat down for a caricature, and he tells me, he likes caricatures and all this, and is interested in it, and now he's a member of ISCA. He joined the organization after getting a sketch from me, and he's really been just really putting out piece after piece, really like stepping up his game. So I love that he submitted. I love these pieces. That's awesome.
I like this one. I like my booty chin. But
yeah.
I actually really like how tired he made me look, just like in real life. Look at those eyes.
He also, both of our postures, he's got them both. Like Joe's all up in broad chest and I'm just slumped over and casual. These are great.
You look like Bobby Lee with some kind of a dildo in your hand.
Wait, I don't like you saying that because he's behind you with that. What's going on here? This is now my least favorite now.
What are you trying to say, Randy? What's going on here?
I will say I'm aware that's a marker. I'll just put that out there.
Okay. Man, I don't know.
You put a little Simpsons tattoo there.
Ah, nice.
I like the little details you find.
Wow.
This one's by Noah Regan. This one's funny.
That's hilarious.
Awesome.
That's basically when me and Jose were getting together to edit our movie. This is what we're actually doing.
Yeah, that's why it's taken 4 years.
Yeah,
it reminds me of like the old Looney Tunes bit where like Bugs is fighting the artist, like because he has the hand.
Oh yeah,
in there.
You're about to be erased.
Yeah, well, no, he's drawn.
He's drawn you.
Yeah, but it just reminds me of it. Like it's pretty cool.
That's great.
It is pretty funny.
Good one.
I love this one. This one's so cool.
Whoa. That's so cool.
That is.
Look at you.
Dude, you got a new logo.
That's so cool.
That's something else.
Who's this?
This is by Dominic Zeilinger.
Oh, all right. Yeah. I've never met Dominic, but I am familiar with him. And, he was in Manny's book. And so he got a lot of really great sketches. And so I'm grateful to have one from him because this is wild. I love it.
And it's kind of cool, too. It's like how you can accentuate some things even if like they're not really there because he got like your little overbite and he to kind of balance it out he just gave my bottom row of teeth even though
no that's your top row because this lip that's all gums up there.
Oh, is that what that is?
Because you're when you smile your upper lip pulls up way above your bottom teeth.
Yeah, I just the way it looks like I see that now.
So yeah.
That's cool. And Jason looks like a squid or something. It's very intimidating. This is a good one.
And we're the three best friends.
Dude, we're the three best friends.
What movie's that from? Serious question, Jason Seiler.
Hangover.
By the way,
right? Isn't it?
Yes.
Quick
Yeah.
plug. We have music in our movie from his name is John Koneski, and he actually contributed some music to The Hangover Part 2 and some other feature films. Oh, he's won a Grammy, but I just wanted to connect those dots there and just really give him a shout out because he was really generous and hooking us up with some
instrumental work,
sweet tunes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
My bad.
All right, so this next one is by Gui Barbosa.
That's sweet. That's gorgeous.
That's so cool.
You guys are like.
These are awesome.
You almost can hear like a sound effect here, like like
Seth Rogen's laugh coming from me.
Yeah. Yeah. You guys have. There's definitely like some nice. I can hear some sounds like you got like this total like.
No, I love the the color palette
This
on
is
this
awesome.
one. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's nice.
this is really well done. Yeah.
Very cool. This one is one of my favorites.
Oh my gosh, that's so crazy.
This is by Kiko Yamada.
Oh, Kiko. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's
So-
hilarious.
Like I thought, and I just learned that she actually lives in the States. I thought she was from Japan, so this whole time I keep saying from Japan.
Oh yeah. She works with Manny quite often.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, she's super talented, and this is
fun.
This is hilarious. This is a different style than I'm used to seeing from her, but I love the kind of cartoony muppetiness of it.
Yeah.
This is hilarious, and I love that it's a little bit illustrative and that it kind of tells a story. That's really fun too.
It reminds me of like Rocko's Modern Life.
Yeah, it's got a bit of that vibe to it.
Yeah.
Like the scratchiness in the background, especially.
Yeah, and just like, I don't know, the extremeness of some of the features.
Again, I love your nose, and again, she's got that like upper lip curl of yours where
Yeah.
the gums are sticking out. Joe just looks so excited to be doing what he's doing.
I like how my eyes are like.
He's
through my
hilarious. Thank you,
glasses.
Kiko.
Yeah, she did one of my dad that was just so spot on. It was
Oh,
so,
I gotta.
so
I
funny.
haven't. I gotta see that. I watched about half of the episode, and I'm gonna pick it up again next time I'm working in the office. So yeah, I can't wait to see that.
Yeah, there's like she's sent in a few so far, and they're always just amazing. So this is by Kristen Woods, and she did two. She sent in two versions, so I've got them both here. So here's like a kind of like a purple line sketch. Here's like Siamese twins here.
Well, yeah.
And then
That's great likenesses. That's
Oh yeah, I think it's pretty
That's
good.
ridiculous.
And here's her second version by
Oh,
Kristen
Oh my
Woods.
god, that's crazy.
I love that people are like doing their research on these. You know, they're like, what are these guys into?
Yeah,
And
like,
yeah,
that's crazy.
that's
Kind
a
of
lot
like, man, that's like a scary world you live in. It's just like one Facebook click away. It's like, oh, this guy likes Batman and Joker. This guy is a Browns fan.
Yeah, right. Well, how else do people know what to get me for Christmas?
That's true. That's awesome. And who is this by again? I'm sorry,
Kristen Woods.
Kristen. This is awesome.
That's
Thank
great.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Love
that's
it.
pretty cool.
That's awesome.
This one is just sick. This is by Sala Kudari. I love this one so much.
Oh man, that's awesome. I love Salah's work, but I don't see him do a lot of color stuff. So this is really feels like something really unique.
That's trippy.
Like, he is a killer black and white artist with like the ink effects and stuff like that he does, and he does it from what I understand. I can't tell if this one is done digitally or traditionally, but he does this style typically traditionally. But I haven't seen his color work of this caliber. So this is
Yeah, I love the colors in this.
this is awesome. Yeah, this is great.
Yeah, and again, he did another one. He did one of my dad. It was a black and white one, and it was awesome, man. He basically it was my dad playing guitar, but made it into like this violent machine gun guitar. You know,
That's awesome.
Desperado style.
Man, I gotta get in on this party. I gotta start drawing your guests. I'm really bad at time management. I'll just put that out there, as you know, this 5-year movie is probably indicating. But yeah, I really, if I sit down and sketch, I want to be able to give it everything. But I do appreciate everyone's taking the time to contribute
crazy.
to this. This is awesome.
All right, cool. So let's look at the next one. The next one is by Jason Church.
Oh wow.
Oh,
Jeez.
that's.
I was talking about Kiko's looking like a Muppet. This one,
Well, yeah.
yeah, I did not see that coming. That caught me by surprise.
So, you know, it's funny because I can't believe it's never been done before. Because
Hey, Bert.
I know.
you look just like him.
Yeah, I mean, those head shapes are perfect.
God, that's crazy.
Yeah,
That's awesome. I can't believe no one's done that before.
yeah,
You guys-
that's wild.
You guys share a bedroom?
Sometimes.
Only sometimes.
Yeah, this sometimes.
Only when we're
Separate
not riding
beds.
on our tandem bicycle.
Yeah, yeah. People are catching on to something here. So, oh,
It's
speaking
something we haven't been on to.
speaking of, this looks like a wedding picture to me.
Yeah, that's
Welcome
yeah,
to our wedding
Yeah.
by Ryan Biddle.
We're gonna put that in a signature frame and put it up at the
Yeah, I
the
love it.
front entrance.
Oh man.
That's hilarious.
That's really a fun transition. It's like do you guys share a bedroom? Welcome to our wedding.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
And we're human again.
Yeah, we're human again.
Oh my god.
So fun. All right. That's the last one. So
that's a good way to end it, I guess.
yeah.
So yeah, thank you to everyone who submitted to that, because that was
ridiculous.
That was a lot of fun. I appreciate everyone.
Man, not just artwork, but the research they did on some of that.
I know.
That's crazy. Like this guy.
It's interesting. I mean, I've been doing this. This is like episode 33 or 34. I can't remember what episode this is actually. Maybe it's 32. Anyways, every single time, like my guests will say something, like, "Holy cow, how did they know that?" Like there's always somebody that really does their research.
Well, I mean, it's funny too, because like part of getting a likeness of a character that people talk about, getting one's personality or whatever through photo, and they did their homework, and those ones are really great. It's like, these guys are way too close. Let's make them look like this. Good job, everybody. Thank you again.
So thank you again for everybody that submitted drawings. That was really awesome. And thank you to you guys for joining me for this. This was a lot of fun talking with you guys.
Absolutely.
Is there anything? And I can't wait to see the documentary, man. I'm really looking forward to seeing what you guys do. I'm hoping to make it to ISCA for the convention.
Dude, I hope so too.
Yeah, I didn't get to go for the last few years, and every single time I've been there, basically I was doing some kind of a workshop or something. And so I'm looking forward to just going and just like hanging out and just maybe doing just a couple paintings and just,
that'd be awesome.
So I'm hoping. It just depends. I mean, I'm doing the thing I don't know if you've heard of Lightbox, but Bobby Chu at Schoolism started Lightbox Expo. It's going to be in Pasadena this year in September. And basically it's an artist convention just go to lightboxexpo.com. You'll see it, but there's like basically every amazing artist you can think of. It's unreal the amount of artists that are going to be at this thing all at once. Like if someone targeted that building, the world would be a sad, lonely, boring place because
don't give them any ideas.
Yeah, right.
Basically everybody awesome is going to be there.
We already had enough strategies with this movie.
Was the first one last year?
Camera, okay, just don't bring it.
Was the first one last year?
This is going to be the first one.
This is the first one. Okay.
Yeah, and it's going to be amazing, man. So many awesome artists. I'm looking forward to. Basically, there's a lot of artist friends of mine that I haven't seen for years, or I've been friends with them for a long time, but never actually met in person yet. Like Walter Tulp. I don't know if you know him from the Netherlands. He's an amazing artist, but he's going to be there, and
that's awesome.
But there's going to be basically workshops, illustration panels. There's going to be I'm going to be doing a demo at some point, and then there's also like a convention. There's people have booths, so I'll be selling my last book for really cheap because it's been out for a while now, and selling prints. And I think I'm going to be doing like some live painting, maybe some oil painting or something like that as well. But yeah, so anyway, that's happening in September, and then so it just depends on scheduling.
Well, November and September are like 2 months apart, so I mean you got plenty of time.
Yeah, but see, and that's the thing that's tricky. It's in my work. It's like all of a sudden with like deadline to deadline and different things I'm working on. All of a sudden a month goes by.
Yeah,
right.
I get you.
Like, oh my gosh!
All of a sudden a month goes by. The next thing you know, 4 years go by.
Yeah, right.
And you're on a podcast. Like, oh well, now it's got to be real this time.
We would love to have you at the convention, and I every once in a while, like when we're discussing as a board, we're like who should we have speak at this convention? I'm like, well, Jason Seiler said he might want to come, and then Chris is like, no, if he wants to come, just let him come. Don't make him talk to people. Don't make him host the seminar. We want people to want to come. I'm like, okay, you're right. Okay, yeah. So we want you to come.
I'm definitely not opposed to doing a workshop again at some point or something, but I do want to kind of come and just paint.
No, we want you to be a guest. We want you to, utilize that golden nosy, cred to just show up and.
I told Joe that if I go, I'm just gonna probably do like a couple oil paintings or something and just have fun and then Joe he's like yeah, well, I'm gonna just do like just a couple million caricatures while, and kick everyone's ass. And
just gonna do
no, he didn't say that. No, but I did talk to Joe about going because we want to get our babies playing together and hanging out and have our wives to meet. I also trying to talk Grieger into going as well, so that would be cool.
Please,
so,
yeah.
Awesome. It would be fun. We'll just have like a paint slinging party,
When we're done here with this chat, we're actually going to go over in the documentary. We're having an editing day today. We're going over his nosy win. That's kind of one of the last pieces of the puzzle that we've been putting into place. So we have that post-win interview with him and all that. And so, spoilers. Grigor wins the Golden Nosy in American Caricature.
Yeah.
Now no one's going to watch.
Yeah.
You know what's really funny about that? Real quick before we end this is like, I asked him to come with me, and he was like, oh, I don't know, man, and I was like, come on, man, it'll be a lot of fun. And he's like, it's like this thing. And I finally talked him into doing it. And he's like, I don't know if I'm going to like compete or anything. And I'm like, no, come on, dude. Like, just go and have fun. Just like, you're not going to be able to help yourself. You're going to have to. And, so he kind of had like this attitude, like, oh, I don't know, we'll see if I do, and, whatever. And then I remember we get there the night of, and, everyone's just kind of like, what do you call the first night? Like the
icebreaker.
The icebreaker, okay. And everyone's just kind of hanging out and saying hi and stuff. Grieger's already walking around sketching people, just like right away. And I'm like, oh yeah, it's on. Because I know how competitive he is. Like he likes to act like, yeah, whatever, I don't care. No, he fucking cares a lot.
It's funny because before the convention, you sort of talked about how you're trying to get him to go and how you're twisting his arm and all that. And then at the convention, he talked, like when we interviewed him, he talks about how you twisted his arm to get him to go there.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of funny. I mean, it's well documented at this point that, he was a tough sell, but once he was there, he killed it, man. So
oh yeah.
That was great.
I mean, I wasn't expecting anything less. I mean, and that's the thing that's fun about it is like, like anybody listening to this, if you're interested in caricature art, you have to go to this convention. It's a lot of fun. It might be overwhelming if you're new to it. It might, because there's so many artists that are just awesome. But really, it's just fun, and that's the thing that I really want to do is just go and have some fun. I think the last time I was there was 2015, I think, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So, it's been a while. And so I'd love to go. I just enjoy the energy there. There's so much energy, and I like to be, I like to walk around and just like see what everyone's doing and just like say hi to people and go back and work some more. And like, it's just such a great, like, I don't know, like, I guess community is like the word maybe, but just, you got artists from all over the place. And that's what's so cool. Like, I can't remember the one guy's name. That one, he's like that short little guy who like throws the ink and spits ink and stuff.
Gambitar.
How do you say it?
Gambitar.
Yeah. Like that dude?
Gambitar Schoenball, I think is his name.
Man.
That's how you pronounce it.
That guy's awesome.
Yeah. Dude, I was sitting there just watching him, just like, what is he doing? And like, he's like, puts ink in his mouth and he's like spitting it everywhere. And like, this guy's insane, but his
definitely
work
got
was
people's attention. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Yeah. There's just so many amazing artists there. So definitely I recommend it. And if you go to this one, it's a preview of the American Caricature, right? Well,
yes. I mean, that's the plan. Yeah, that's the plan. I mean, we definitely want to utilize a space that has a movie theater at the convention that we filmed at originally.
Yeah, it's like all coming together.
Yeah. Do you care if I do a quick plug real quick?
Yeah, of course. That's what we're doing.
The convention that we're talking about is the International Society of Caricature Artists annual caricature convention and competition. This year it takes place November 17th through 22nd at the Guest House at Graceland in Memphis, Tennessee. You can register, become a member of ISCA, and register for the convention at caricature.org. And, Jason already said all the good stuff for us about, what that convention is and what it can mean for people. So, definitely if you are listen to this podcast, if you have any interest in caricature, I recommend you check it out. And again, I'm saying that as a member and also as the vice president. So again, full disclosure.
Well, and also,
and I'm neither, and I'll say just go because it's a lot of fun. I go just to hang out. I met new friends there.
Joe goes in parties.
Yeah, I just hang out with Jason Seiler and Joe Bloom and Rob Wren and Derek Brennan, and I sketch even though I don't compete because I keep threatening one year I'm going to, even though I don't really draw that often, but it's just kind of fun just to see what I can do. Like I'll be going to like my 5th one as a non-caricature artist, so maybe I should just kind of put pen to paper and just do it. But
our guest speaker this year, do you know Valentin Shibrit, if I'm pronouncing it correctly? Mm-hmm. Yeah, fantastic digital artist. He's this digital caricature artist from Romania, and he's coming over to be our guest speaker, do our keynote speech, and do some demos. And he's I mean, he just does digital work, and just like his characters, his likenesses are spot on, and they just explode with energy and color. I'm so excited.
Yeah, that's gonna be awesome. Yeah, and that's another thing for people that are, if you're interested in this, just a really quick description. There's like a huge room, and every artist gets like a space on a wall, and you basically spend close to a week. You can spend as much time as you want. Some people don't sleep; they just work all night long, and you just basically do as many drawings as possible and fill up your wall space. Some people just do 1 or 2. Like if I go this year, I might just do 1 or 2. But I'm going to be doing like oil paintings. But some people just like do hundreds. It's insane. And it's really cool. And basically what everyone's doing is there's artists from all over the world, and they're drawing each other, painting each other. And then there's seminars you can go to. There's different people that do little workshops and stuff. And then at the very end, there's a very, everyone has a dinner together, and there's sort of like I kind of say it's like the caricature Oscars, where basically everyone sits around and they just do like an award ceremony for all different, best in black and white, best in color, exaggeration, and so on, and it's just a lot of fun, and really I think it's a chance too for artists to kind of exercise their mind a little bit, because you're kind of in the real world when you're working, if you're in theme parks, wherever, you kind of have, expectations, let's say, on how far you should exaggerate and that sort of thing. Some people don't care; they just go crazy. So you got a lot of artists like that are like, I am going to go crazy and push myself, and there seems to be like an energy at the convention where everyone's just like, how far can we go? How unique and creative. Like the last time I was there was that guy from Japan that was doing those 3D paper sculpt things that were just ridiculous.
Oh, yeah, I remember what you're talking about. I mean,
unreal. So you see certain things that you're not going to see anywhere else, and just a lot of creative people. And so I definitely recommend, even if you want to just go just to like see it, so. Go ahead.
I just want to say too, like that energy, that sense of community camaraderie, that was the inspiration for American caricature, and that's what we try to capture in the film. So you're asking earlier a little bit about the direction, and the idea is, we want to show all these different artists and their different various like environments, like you in your studio, Tom Richmond working on a Mad Magazine panel, Joe Bloom at the animation studio, and then us at our caricature booth, and all these little things and how they come together. And it's going to come, all these artists are going to meet up at this convention and take place and basically put in their best work, and just that's the idea of it, is to kind of capture these different minds and from different basically disciplines of artwork and caricature, like how that all works together, and what the community is like when you get them all in a room together. So it's going to be, my goal is I want it to be fun. I want it to be crazy, a little wild. I want people to kind of get a sense of just the way those days blur together, and just one bleeds into the next, and the rush of it all is what I'm trying to capture. Yeah. So what we're trying to capture. So
yeah, and since the inception, Tom always just wanted to kind of reflect the community of the caricature artist and the camaraderie of everybody. And it's kind of a niche thing, which is fun. And for me, my half of the direction was, you were talking as a kid, you thought you invented caricature, and we got similar stories from like Tom Richmond and whatever. So it's like, you didn't know what this was the thing that you could, excel in. So I'm kind of hoping like, you get that high school artist that's doing this or whatever, and you have different facets of the film that like it's not just some goofy drawing that you can do. You could have your own business. You could illustrate the Pope. You could win an Oscar. You could, be on Mad Magazine and just all these different things. And everyone started out doodling their friends in their art class. Like it's crazy. And to me, it's like, I don't want to sound like I want to be like an inspiration to like artists out there, but it's like, they don't know what characters are capable of, because they just think, it's a $5 sketch you get on the pier, when really you can do a lot of other things with it.
Well, I think the more eyes you put on the community and what goes on behind the scenes behind that, 3 to 5 minute sketch you get at a fair, everything that kind of all the illustrators that come before that and all the inspiration and all the work that goes into it. I feel like people will see that and they'll say, oh, I can do that if I put my mind to it, or it is possible to make a living doing this, or there is a community of support for people who do stuff like this, Yeah. How many people have might be drawing their friends' faces and not know what it is when they're a kid, and then they see this and they'll be like, oh, this is what this is, or this is what this could be. These are the paths available to me.
Yeah.
I just hope, just a little bit more exposure to the community will, get people more interested and understand it, and maybe even a little bit more respect for the art form that, sometimes isn't always there, especially when it's set in a retail setting.
Right.
So that's our main aim. But yeah, it was always the convention and the community behind it that was the inspiration to sort of put this film together.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And I think like what you said, I think there's a lot of people out there that don't. I mean, even when I started doing caricatures, I had no. I wasn't ever thinking I'm going to make a living doing caricatures. It was just something I did because I loved it, and that's just kind of how I just started drawing people that way, and it became like this language in a way. I just loved doing it. I just loved doing it, and part of the reason why I got what I'm doing now is because Tom Richmond, I was writing him, showing him some of my work, and just because I was a fan of his work, and then he was like, hey, you should join this thing that I'm a part of called the NCN. And then I started basically submitting drawings to the exaggerated features. They had this thing every, I don't know if you guys remember that, but they used to have a paper. I don't know if you guys. Now it's just a magazine, right?
No, we have a magazine now.
But it used to be like a paper, almost.
Yeah,
it
was like a newsletter. Yeah.
And there was a caricature competition at the end of every one. Basically, next issue is Sam Jackson, so everyone would submit Sam Jackson drawings, And so at the time, I was working as a graphic designer. I was in bands touring the country and recording records. That was mostly what I was doing. And I was just doing the caricatures for that just to be a part of something. And then I started getting all this positive feedback, like who is this Seiler guy? I kept getting, I remember Tad Barney wrote me once, and then he sent me some money to do a drawing of him. And so it just started slowly building. And then I'm like, wow, you can make money doing this? You know what I mean? It wasn't something I really thought about at the time.
And that's a weird realization. I mean, it took me 5-6 years of doing this for a living to realize, I'm doing this. You know?
Well, it's just strange because then what ended up happening is I ended up going to magazines, Barnes and Nobles and different things, and flipping through and seeing. I started noticing all these caricature illustration everywhere. I'm like, I think I could do that, and that's when all of a sudden I was like, I'm gonna try to do that, and I just started working towards it, and then bam, and then I stopped doing my music, and I started focusing just on that, but. And then next thing you know, I'm, doing Mad Magazine, and different things like that, that I'm like, I didn't think that this was something that was possible, So the cool thing about what you guys are doing and the convention and everything is it does give people an opportunity to explore these things that could be real, for them. You know what I mean? Open up doors to hear different people's stories and stuff like that. So I think it's pretty awesome what you guys are doing. I can't wait to see it. I'm super, super stoked.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One last thing real quick before we go. Joe Bloom. So after I think the last convention, I don't know if it was the last one, but you guys showed a little teaser thing
So we had we put together like a 10-minute pitch, and it's a proof of concept, and it's also like a roadmap for us to refer to see like stylistically what we want the movie to look like. We also showed it to people for feedback and critique, but we kind of like behind closed doors had like a private screening.
What was the thing? Because Joe, he said something like, he's like, dude, they showed this clip of you, and he's like, it was so funny, and it was like, he was just like, it's like, smacks you right in the face, and so what was it exactly?
So
I'm so confused because he didn't really explain it all that well.
Well,
he was like, dude, just awesome. Trust me.
All right, so with
So
I'm glad Joe liked it, because most people were like, Jason came off as kind of a douche. I'm like, oh, okay.
Really? Oh,
yeah.
no.
With most of these interviews, we like with you, we emailed you ahead of time. We're gonna come, hear the questions ahead of time, so you kind of, have a little time to think ahead. So when we're filming you, you're not just stumbling over your words or trying to think too hard. And so it's, it flows better. You want to talk about weird things that happen with the film? You are probably the one, because we came in, you let us in your front door or back door or whatever after we dodged some bullets, literally and figuratively. And you said, hold on, an editor's on the phone. And Tom's like, oh, can we shoot this? And you're like, yeah. So you are on the phone with somebody as I'm literally setting up my tripod, and the camera's like cockeyed and the lights aren't even on yet. And we're filming you, just having a discussion with an editor about your Mark Ruffalo piece.
Oh, yeah.
The best part about this documentary, about that incident, we actually got to document something that wasn't quote unquote scripted. And it was just a very like window into how illustrators deal with editors.
Oh, I remember now. I was on the phone with the art director for the New York Observer.
Yes.
So, but I came across douchey. What did I say?
No, all right. Let me explain. This is why we had the screening. All right, we don't want anyone to come across as a douche. So, we've made some tweaks. But what we were trying to do with that pitch was we showed a chunk of footage that we shot at the Ohio State Fair, the way Rob Wren runs his company, the way Rob Wren works in his studio as a digital artist, and then trying to link that to your process as a digital artist and how the idea of character is the same across different styles or different professions. So we had you talking a little bit about live character art as well, and that. So when you were on the phone with the art director, and then followed up by you were telling the story about this woman who wanted to be drawn pretty and crude, and you're just like, and then I just destroyed her, and then we just cut to the next thing. Like that got a good laugh, but it did kind of like.
I thought it was funny.
I thought it was funny too.
And
like, Jason comes across as a little cocky. I'm like, okay, well,
Jason is kind of cocky.
We ended up
okay.
So we ended up pulling that from the.
I just say how it is.
Exactly. I figured you'd appreciate that, but we pulled that from our pitch and mainly also because we needed to cut it for time. So we shortened it down. So it's just the State Fair stuff. And then we edited around that. In the actual movie itself, we tweaked it based on, some of the feedback we got.
And for the record, the destroyer part, that's when you were talking about working on the pier. And how you didn't want to draw cutesy. And your manager said draw cute.
Oh.
Started drawing cute. I said, I'm just going to destroy her. And I did. And I'm like, well, that's that punk rock vibe we were talking about earlier. It's like, this is the style I want to do and work my career off of. So I'm going to do it.
But it was fun.
Okay.
So
I thought it was great.
We actually, So we.
I thought it was something having to do with like me saying something weird to the art director.
No. I mean,
okay.
it's you on the phone and kind of trying to understand the situation.
I forget too because it's been a while. But I think she was trying to get me to change the color of something, and I was so annoyed.
It was. He doesn't look Hollywood enough. Was the words you were using.
In a nutshell. Is they wanted it to look more like a photograph.
Yeah,
you were upset.
Oh, you were trying to do like a painting, and you had the reds and greens in there, and they want to be softer. And
oh, that's right.
Yeah.
So there was a little bit of that, but I like that sequence a lot, and I think it was really cool that we got to actually capture you right in the middle of this actual we didn't have to stage anything, not that we would or we have, but it was felt like really authentic, and I think that was really great about that.
I don't mind at all. I think it's great. I mean, the whole point of me doing this too is I prefer things to be raw and genuine, and that's what I want to listen to. That's what I want to see.
Yeah,
So.
I never thought that we were doing you a disservice, but I do think that, in that context, it was, because you're not a live sketch artist, and it just felt like, maybe it was a little too much for what we were trying to put together. So we don't actually have any of that in the movie itself. It's all about
That's so
you
funny.
in the studio. But yeah, let me ask you this too. I mean, I know we're recording right now, but since you're doing this as like a YouTube video, would you like a clip from the movie that you can show like on the YouTube channel?
See what you like an old person.
Yeah,
on the YouTube.
No, if we can cut a short clip and be like, go to the clip, and then
Yeah. That would be great.
We can send the clip of you being a douchebag if you want.
Yeah. Let's just do that. And you know what? I think me being a douchebag is the perfect place to end this. Hey, I think you.
He's a nice gentleman.
Yeah, you're not a douchebag for real. Like in your interview, you came across as
real.
Yeah, real.
You're frustrated.
You're humble. You respect the art form and the artists around you and the people who look up to you and give you work every day and all that. There's nothing really super cocky about it. Like what I liked about that coming out of it was like your skill level, your value, your worth, and you don't hide from that, but you also make it clear that you don't think that you're on top of any mountain.
No.
So
yeah, I definitely don't feel that way.
Yeah, and that's the Jason Seiler we want to get across to people. So
well, I appreciate that. Yeah. So anyways, it was so awesome having you guys on. This is really cool. Everybody look forward to American Caricature, and again, look forward to going to that convention if you're into that sort of thing. And we'll see you guys next time.
Yes, AmericanCaricature.com. Trailer's out now.
Boom.
Please enjoy this short clip from American Caricature featuring my pal, Joe Bloom.
Are you making the art? Well, for this in particular, I came this year wanting to just paint. I love the idea of traditional art and the one sacred flawed object that can be destroyed and ruined over time. I just love that. So when I came here, I wanted to paint traditionally, and I wanted to paint as large as I can just because it's fun to me and it makes sense. This is the largest canvas that the local art supply store had, and so that's the one I got. And I got a couple smaller canvases, but this was an idea of painting something a little beyond caricature, a little more of a portrait, a little more of mood lighting, and an idea of tying it in with a feeling of a creature or an animal that a person feels exemplary of to me. So Dexter is my friend, and he feels happy, he feels confident, and he happens to have the visual representation of a rooster comb with his little coif of hair. So it just felt right to try it with him. And it was also important to me to paint something large, to spend as much time with someone I know who will be both willing to take it home and appreciate it as much as I want them to.